Welcome to Confident Connections, the podcast that helps you show up with confidence and connect with people on a deeper level. I'm Lisa Liu, and here we break down the small signals that create big impact. Body language, presence, and the simple habits that help you communicate with ease, increase your influence, and magnify your impact. You'll learn how to make strong first impressions, build trust faster, and feel more confident in any conversation or setting. If you're ready to improve your communication skills and create connections that move your life and your leadership forward, you are in the right place. I've got a fantastic resource for you that is completely free and is really going to help you, especially if you've ever felt awkward with meeting someone new, or maybe you just want to know how to make the person across from you feel seen, valued, and understood, especially if you've never met them before. Or maybe you just want to get out of the people pile. You want to be memorable instead of just saying, hey, what do you do for a living? Which is what everybody says, totally forgettable. Maybe you want some new ways to engage. This is my How Not to Be Awkward conversation starters, and it is going to span professional and networking events that you may go to, connecting with empathy, and even transitioning into deeper talk. There's also a great little pocket connection card that you can just snapshot to keep on your phone and use right before you head in to a situation where you just want to have some great conversation starters, literally in the palm of your hand and in your pocket. If this sounds interesting to you, I want you to go to lisaluimpact.com/connection. You'll also find this down below in the show notes, completely free to you, lisaluimpact.com/connection. Welcome to the Confident Connections podcast. Today, we're going to cover our very final letter in our DISC. So we're talking about personality types, behavioral styles, and the last behavioral style is C. So if you've missed the previous 2 weeks, be sure you go back and listen, because each week I've taken a deep dive into each one. The D, direct, decisive, driving; the I, influential, talkative, optimistic; the S, steady, loyal, reliable; and today, finally, we're at the C. So when we talk about C, C stands for conscientious. So our C-wired friends, I'm going to give you the emoji for them, and I've given you an emoji for each one just to kind of put it in your head. You know, our brains think in pictures, they don't really think in words. And so as I've given you an emoji, so for the D, it was a medal. For an I, it was the microphone. S was a teddy bear. For our C, it's a calculator. Why? Because let's talk about the characteristics of a C. C's are analytical. They are organized and structured. They work well with a schedule. They prefer to work alone. They are quiet and reserved. All right, let's pause there for a moment. I have some more characteristics. Quiet and reserved. Remember our D's and I's. Outgoing, extroverted, moves fast, but our D's are task-oriented. Our I's are more people-oriented. Our S's are reserved and people-oriented. Our C's are reserved and task-oriented. So D's and C's task-oriented. D and I extroverted. Okay, S's and C's reserved. So if we were making a square, then the upper left square would be a D. The right square would be an I. The lower right square would be an S, and the left bottom square would be a C. So it spells DISC kind of in a clockwise pattern. So if you have that picture in your mind, just know that D and the I that are at the top, outgoing. Your C and your S are at the bottom, reserved. But on the left-hand side, in your mind's eye, if you're following me still, the D is at the top, the C is on the bottom. Over there, they are task-oriented. Over to the right, the I at the top, the S at the bottom, people-oriented. Okay, so let's move forward with some more characteristics of our C's. Cautious, detail-oriented, logical, critical thinkers, accuracy, reserved, Talked about that. Systematic. Challenge assumptions. Pause. Let's talk about challenge assumptions. So I mentioned last week that my husband has taken the DISC personality profile twice, or assessment twice. The first time he was an SC, the second time he was a CS. Why did those flip? Because of where he was at the time. He is actually pretty balanced between an S and a C. They're both very, very close, so he can flex in and out easily. So you can see S's and C's are both reserved. So yes, my husband is more reserved overall. He doesn't have much D or I in him. He has some, because we all, as I've said each week, we all have a little bit of all of this in us, but some of us, all of us have more of some than others, right? So for my husband, being more analytical, being someone who challenges, right? Challenges assumptions. He can come across as very skeptical, and he'll be the very first to tell you, I'm a natural born skeptic. Why is this so important for us to understand about our C-wired friends? Because let's say you are an I-wired person or a C-wired person, okay? Both of them struggle with rejection. Remember, that was a core fear of theirs. If a C is going, well, what about this? Well, tell me more about this. Well, I don't understand this. Well, do you have some data on that? Can you send me a spreadsheet? For an I or an S, that can feel like, do you not trust me here? Are you questioning my character? Are you questioning my judgment? It's very easy for us to label a C-wired person as difficult, but now we can understand, oh, wait a minute. C-wired people aren't difficult. They're different because they need data. For them to make a decision, they're more reserved, remember. So like the S, they cannot be forced to move quickly and do a great job, because for a C, accuracy is critical for them, critical. So if you're forcing them to go fast, they're really going to struggle with that, because accuracy is important. That's why it's so important to have a C on a team. My husband, when we go on vacation, guess who puts together the itinerary? It is not your I-wired host here. No, it is not. It is my husband, because he crosses the I's, he dots the T's, switch that. Dots the I's, crosses the T's. See, I'm not a detail-oriented person. So it's so interesting to understand this, because when I understood him better through this, I'm like, oh, he's not questioning me because he thinks I'm a Momo and I don't know anything. He's questioning so that he can gather data so he can make a better decision. See? Understanding over judgment. That's why this is so helpful. Let's talk about some limitations of a C. Overly critical of self. Boy, they can be hard on themselves. Remember, accuracy is everything. So if they get something wrong, they can really beat themselves up. Isolate self. Remember, I said that they often like to work alone. So that can be a real limitation, because you can be siloed a little too easily. Tendency to overanalyze and be overly cautious. These are areas for personal growth, because if you're waiting for everything to be perfect, guess what? It never will be, which means you don't move forward. So these are really important areas to look at for growth. What are some needs of a C? Structure, organization, sufficient timelines, logic, challenges, and correctness. These are things that can drive them. What about their motivations? Preparation, correctness, making a difference, opportunity to use expertise or gain knowledge. Really good to understand about C's. Fears and irritations, criticism, being wrong, and unpredictability. I think where I want to go next week is talking about where the biggest challenges can lie in these different personality styles. In other words, which 2, 3, or 4, which combinations can butt the heads the most, why, and what we can do about it. Okay, I think I might want to go there next week, because this is so juicy, this is so fun, this is so good, and it is so darn practical. Like, you should literally be able to walk away from today's podcast having listened to the previous 3 and have a better understanding for the people around you. And why are we here on planet Earth if it's not to better understand the people in front of us so that they do feel more seen, valued, and understood? How do you communicate with a C-wired person? Focus on facts. Now, your I-wired person, remember, too much detail, you're going to lose them. But for C-wired, They want details, so focus on the facts. Keep the tone professional. Give them all of the details. Provide them with time to analyze options for decisions. And remember, they may ask many questions because they process by gathering more facts. Fascinating, right? Okay, I hope that was helpful. Send this episode to a C-Wired friend. Say, boy, I appreciate you. I see you, and I see the strengths that you bring to fill in the blank. The team, this relationship, this marriage, whatever it is, okay? All right, I think we're going there next week. I'm not ready to take my foot off the gas pedal with all of this because there's just so many more places we can go. So stay tuned for that. Thank you for joining me, and I will see you next time. Bye for now.